Well, if ever there was a perfect spring evening, this is definitely it. 24th of May today, and I'm going to be trapping just behind the trees in the Red Hill area of Eakring. On that hillside there is a fabulous area of meadowland, and then you've got this glorious field of Phacelia. Still some painted ladies in this field. I saw at least 7 when I visited earlier today, and the scent is just amazing. We've got the perfect night for it, so I need to get up there and start and think about getting set up, but the view here is just wonderful. I'm trapping in here, and as you can see, it's a beautiful area of meadowland. It's generally north facing, quite undulating. It used to be much more extensive years ago, but it's a lovely bit of meadowland habitat. Lots of clover in here and lots of buttercup and umbellifers, as you can see. I always get a decent range of moths when I trap here, and I do enjoy trapping here because this is one of the best areas in the Eakring area for migrant moths. It stands high up above the surrounding countryside, and it's just a beautiful place to run a moth trap. Well, I think it's a cup of coffee time. Stand and watch the sun get nearer to the horizon and start to get set up. What an evening, absolutely beautiful. Well, we're up and running 10 minutes later than what I expected, 21:40 on a beautiful late May evening, May the 24th, and what an evening it's been. And the quail will probably continue to call throughout the night. Well, straight away, as so often happens this time of year, switch a light on in meadowland and you get lots of common swift come in. Range of sizes here, but they are all common swift, and I'll try and get a bit of footage of one. Certainly put photos in. It depends how we go on this evening as to whether I put footage in, if I can get footage or photos. But it's a long time since I've had this many common swift come into the light within the first 5 minutes. And they always have that kind of flight that you can see there. It's almost as if the head is magnetically fixed to the sheet. They tend to dance around, as you can see there. Nice to see, and there's lots flying low amongst the grass. Well, there's plenty of these. Now this is common swift. Very common in any grassy habitat, but will, funny enough, turn up in gardens occasionally. I've had this at home, if I remember right. But if you live near any sort of grassy amenity area, you're very likely to get these in your garden trap. And nice to see such good numbers. Well, virtually every moth that you can see there, and that's just a fraction of the ones that have come in, are common swifts. I've never had this many common swifts ever, not even when we used to trap in Sherwood Forest. Never seen this many before, and it's nice to see. I'm going to have a quick count up in a minute or two, but I think we've got nearly 50 common swift on here and around the sheet. Don't think I've ever had so many moths of one species sat on the light. And there's only about 4 species that I've recorded so far. I've got 4 diamondback moths in at the moment, but this amount of common swift could well be the highlight of the night. I know it's a common moth, but I've never seen it in these numbers, ever. Well, 1 of 3 brimstones in. Mint condition, as you would expect. In May, they're really only just getting going. This first brood of brimstones, and what a fabulous moth. It is a favourite with myself, and I know with a lot of subscribers too. All the moths that have come in, there's a treble lines in somewhere, it's busy racing around, and silver ground carpet has also turned up, so we're starting to get a little bit more variety now, other than the 75 plus common swifts, which are still around the light. It's very quiet, and species variety is poor at the moment. We're on to about 14-15 species, which is a lot less than what I thought we would be on, but it's still early days. There is a very large poplar hawk moth which has just turned up. Looks like a female as well, but judging by the size of the abdomen. But the moths that have come in the last few minutes or so, flame shoulder, single of those, cetaceous Hebrew character. Doesn't seem 5 minutes since we were counting cetaceous Hebrew character in the autumn, and here we are with its first brood of the year. And it's a moth that we'll see for a while, and then be a brief lull in their appearance until they start again later in the summer. Silver Y has come in to join the throng of migrants. There's 15 Prutella xylostella, which is the diamondback moth. Now, if I get double-figure counts of Prutella xylostella, it's usually quite significant, and it's also unusual too. So that's nice to see. I did get one in the garden earlier on today that I flushed from vegetation. So nice to see a double-figure count of that common migrant. So treble lines I mentioned, knotgrass has been in somewhere and has gone again, and 3 turnip moth now. Now turnip moths can sometimes be associated with migrant activity from the continent, so if it is true, then we've got 3 migrants, though I tend not to count turnip moth as migrants here in Nottinghamshire. So it's very slow and surprisingly quiet. Despite good numbers of moths, the variety of species is very low. So we'll see what happens in the next hour. And I did try and film this beautiful female poplar hawk moth while she was sat on the box. Don't usually get females in. This one must have just been passing and got a bit too close to the light and thought she'd see what all the fuss was about. But what a striking moth. poplar hawk moth is. All the hawk moths are, of course, and everyone likes a big one. And this is a very large species, and the females are larger than the males, of course, and more fuller bodied because this body is full of eggs. Super thing, it really is. They are beautiful to hatch out. It's an easy species to rear, this poplar hawk moth. And I haven't done that for a long time, to be honest, apart from the odd caterpillar. But when you get this at the end of a result of rearing the caterpillar through, and then the pupation period, and for hawk moth lovers, this is doubly blessed, so to speak, because it has two broods. The brood that we currently have now just emerging in the spring, and then later in the summer we'll have another one. So if you're lucky enough to get eggs off a female poplar hawk moth in the spring, or find caterpillars in the spring, they have a shorter pupation period, and so you get your moth in return much quicker. But it's a fabulous species, it really is. And unusual too, in that the hind wings stand proud of the forewings. What a moth. Fabulous thing. They always remind me of the camouflage on military or Air Force vehicles and planes. Just a wonderful sort of slate grey coloration, and then like a dark olive green patterning, all in like pastel shades. And you can get some specimens that have a real sort of rufous hue to the coloration. It's a fabulous moth, it really is. Oh, elephant hawk moth has just dropped in. That's two hawk moths. It's just at the front of the clock and thermometer there. It'll probably start whizzing around. Always nice to see. But the range of species has increased in the last sort of half an hour or so. Gold spot is also in. That's an absolutely beautiful moth, gold spot. It won't settle down as yet, so I can't show it yet, so it'll be a photograph insert. But some nice moths turning up now. White point is new for the year. Never thought a few years ago that I would be saying that white point was new for the year. How things have changed and how mothing has changed. It's been a very strange session, this. Disappointing temperature wise. It still is 11 centigrade. Feels a little bit cooler than that, to be honest now, but there again I don't have a jumper on. But moths are still dropping in, but it's predominantly the same species. I am now on to 33 species, which I never looked like getting anywhere near an hour ago, to be honest. And still plenty, 80 plus common swifts now. I've had another count and got 80 plus. But second highest species is diamondback moth. I'm over 25 diamondback moths, and that's unusual for me. So there's obviously been a really good arrival of diamondback moths in the last couple of nights. But in terms of species, I expected more than 33, I must admit. So I'll probably have a cup of tea and decide how much longer I stop once I've had that. But disappointing. It's surprising how a session can suddenly change within a few minutes, the arrival of a couple of moths. I had a waved umber about 5 minutes ago that came in, and at the side of it at the same time came the moth that's in here. It's taken an age to settle down properly, if it does at all. but it's a Duix plusia, and it's very indicative of how moth trapping has changed within the last sort of 10 years. This was a species which we never dreamt would occur in Nottinghamshire. It was one of those always hoped for species, but at one time of day they were rare even on the south coast, and there was a big influx. And for the last 4 years I've had this moth in my garden, and I know somebody else that lives in Market Warsop has also had Duix plusia in their garden for 4 years in succession. I recorded the first one at Eakring. I think I had 2 the same night up at Lound Wood, and here's another. So I'm presuming that it is breeding in the Eakring area. It could of course be a migrant that has just come in, but amazing that Duix plusia has now become regular in the same way as white point has. At one time 10 years ago, white point was as equally rare in Nottinghamshire as this. Things have really changed, and makes you wonder what's going to be the next new species to arrive in Nottinghamshire and gain a foothold, a species that we'd always regarded as something we'd never see in a landlocked county such as this. Marvellous. Rarely a dull moment in moth trapping. Well, here's that Duix plusia about to leave us, or at least fly around the light. But what a thing. Absolutely beautiful. A moth of dreams only a few years ago, and now it's a moth of reality. My second of the year. I did get one at home to the 9 moth lure, and that was on 30th of April. This could well be a moth that's just arrived, but more likely than not in this day and age, it's a resident. It's going to go. Marvellous. Well, it's just gone midnight, and I'm going to start and have a steady pack up now. The session sort of redeemed itself in that final third hour, and Scorched Wing is one moth which has recently turned up. I don't know where it is now. It was racing around the light, but a beautiful moth to end this session on. But it was a struggle at first, but I think it's largely been down to the lower than expected temperature. So time for a steady pack up, and then we head for home.